Let's go ahead and add another data flow task. Before that, I want to stop debugging and now add the data flow task. This task, I'm going to rename this as load machine type. Once I'm ready to load it, let's go ahead, double click on this or go to data flow. In this, what we are going to do is we are going to add a source just like before. So I'm going to other source and that OLEDB source. I'm going to rename this as molding machine. So rename and call this as molding machine. Then right after my source, I am going to add a transformation, which is aggregate. So you can find that under common. If you expand it, you will see aggregate. So let's get that one. And I'm going to connect my source to aggregate using the blue arrow. Now let's go ahead and add the destination. So I'm going back to my other destination, getting OLEDB destination. And this destination, I'm going to rename this and call it PTI data warehouse, PTI underscore data warehouse, and this is my machine type table. So okay, let's connect these two as well. So basically what is happening is I'm taking my source data from the accounting database, aggregating it at some level, and then putting the aggregated data into my data warehouse machine type table. So far we have only created this but not added the connection. So let's go ahead to the source molding machine, double click and add the connection manager. So we will do, this is again going to be my accounting database, that's my source. For data access mode, instead of table or view, we are going to use an SQL command. So use the SQL command. And the query that you are going to be using, SQL query, is given right here on your instruction sheet. So let's get that query. It says select star from capital assets where asset type equals molding machine. So basically I'm selecting all the data just for the molding machine type. And I'm going to put that in my SQL commands. Go double check your columns. And instead of having everything selected, we want to make sure, as given in your instruction, that we will only select the asset class and raw material. So we have selected only those two, and you can verify it right here, asset class, not asset code. Go ahead, hit OK. The next step for us would be to edit the aggregate transformation editor, and we are going to apply a group by operation to the raw material and asset class fields. So let's go ahead and do that as shown below. So I'm going to double click my aggregate, and then I am selecting the raw material and the asset class. Slide on the side to make sure it says group by. Hit OK. Now let's go ahead and configure the destination. So double click the destination. We have to ensure that we are pointing to the PTI data warehouse as my destination connection manager. We are getting data into table or view, so just leave it at table or view fast load. Now the name of the table in this case is going to be dim machine type. So let's go ahead and point to that. Let's go double check the mappings again, just like before. In this case, I don't see the mapping, so we can create manually. Raw materials should be connected to materials, so I'm gonna connect them manually. And then asset class should be connected to machine type, so let's do that. And now I'm going to hit OK. So my connection is made. Let's go back to the control flow. Make sure load machine type is connected to the rest of the sequence correctly. And now I can save all and then go ahead and execute. Looks like the package has executed successfully. Let's look at how many rows did machine table row. 3 rows. Okay, so let's go back to our SSMS and verify that all our tables. So now I'm here. First of all, I will comment out my delete statements. Make sure only the delete statements have been put into multi-line comment. All my select statements are visible. Let's go ahead execute. So I want to see if machine type table has data in it. So it looks like right here we have different machine types. That's done. So we are now ready to delete the data from this table so we can keep on adding more steps to our sequence. So took the delete statements out from the comment, and I'm going to execute the delete and the select statements, all of them together. Well, now none of my tables have data. Let's go back and add another step. So stop debugging, go back to control flow, and then I'm going to add my another data flow task. This one I'm calling as load machine. Make sure this is connected to the rest of the sequence. Now let's go to OLEDB data source, get another one of those onto the data flow, and right click this to rename, and this one I'm just calling machines. And then I'm adding a destination, so OLEDB destination. This one I'm just right clicking to call it as PTI data warehouse machine, just to be clear that we are loading this in the machine table of the warehouse. But instruction says just PTI data warehouse, that's okay as well. Let's connect the source to the destination. Careful, just the arrow. Now we are going to make the connection manager, so let's double click the machines. This data is now coming from PTI accounting database, and we will do, instead of a direct table, we will do SQL command again. And let me give you the command. The command is located right here. We are selecting star from capital assets where asset type equals molding machines. So let's go ahead and copy that into our SQL command text. And let's go back to the columns. You may see that all the columns are selected. At this stage, we can let all the columns be selected. We may not use all of the columns in the next step. So go ahead and hit OK. So my source is set up. Let's go ahead and set up our destination. So double click, and you know that we are going to point to our data warehouse, and then table or view fast load is good. For the table which is going to get the data, we are going to put the data in the dim machine table, and let's do the mapping. Now some of the names which are exactly the same will be mapped. The others we will have to map them ourselves. You can follow along with the instructions to map asset code to machine numbers. You can do that by clicking on here and then selecting asset code. Machine name needs to be matched to asset name. So let's do that matching. Machine type is asset class. So I'm going to select asset class. Plant number is to be matched to location code. And manufacturer to manufacturer, which is already done. Date of purchase is mapped to date of purchase. It's done. So once you do this, you will see the mapping arrows up here. So let's go ahead and hit OK at this stage. You should save all before we proceed with the testing. Go back to control flow. So we have 6 tables in all, including the machine hierarchy as well. Let's go ahead and start run it. Might take some time. So once again, I see this ran successfully. I'm going to the very last table to see that it should have loaded 6 rows in here. I am going to stop this debugging, and then I want to go back to these tables and check if the data was loaded correctly. So I'm going to my SSMS software, do the same thing, put delete within comments, and just run the select statements. So let's verify we have data here in the machine table, so machine number 1 and so on. So we do have 6 rows of data, and all the previous tables which had data still have data. So now that we have verified it, we are ready to delete the data from here. So let's go ahead, make sure all the delete statements are out of the comments. Let's go run this. Now none of the tables have data. This brings us to the end of assignment 304 part B. We have loaded 6 tables already, and the last step in the sequence, loading batch file, we will do in the next video.